I'll answer any project questions right now. Again, if you have questions about your specific parcel, I will meet with you one-on-one out in the hallway, and we can look at what we have proposed for your parcel and what those estimated assessments or improvements would be. So at this point, I'll open up to questions either from the council, staff, or the general public here. Yeah.
I'm in Area 3 and just trying to get a fair and equitable answer on how this is divided out. My math is about 300 feet of alley, and I know you can come up with 1,100 or something because of the minimums.
Yep.
I get the whole flag lots, you know, if you got 10 feet, but there's none of the flag lots in the business district. Some of these parcels are, some people have two parcels, they have a 20-foot parcel and a 10-foot parcel, and they're getting whacked with two 60-foot assessments. So they're paying $5,500, $5,700 for 30 feet, and some people have 55 feet, and they're paying $2,700. The alley, I'm guessing, is 16 feet wide. I don't know for sure, all the way down. But with all the extras in here, between the city parking lot, I don't know if that's a separate, that's in this figure, or if that's a separate bid. But if you take the city parking lot by the water tower, and then, I don't know the reason behind a couple of businesses that's all paved, what they're building. That's almost double the size of the alley, the square footage. And so I'm wondering the reason for that. And I guess I would ask the council, try to make it fair. Like there are no flag lots, why can't you take the 300 feet, multiply by 2, because there's two sides of the street, and then divide it by how many feet you own.
The city, so like I just said, the council can do whatever they want. They reserve that right. Again, the policy is minimums and maximums when we're talking about assessing on a front, assessable front foot basis. Now, there are different methods within their assessment policy that they can consider. Other cities have done this for commercial alleyways, commercial paved alleyways in downtown districts. They could assess that per each too. That's something that we have talked about, and just say there's 20 parcels and we're going to take the project cost and divide by 20. This rear alleyway is not huge, right? But it's pretty darn important to everybody up there. It's important to the people that are utilizing some of that as parking. It's important to the people that have dumpsters back there. It's important to the people that are taking on deliveries back there. It's important to every one of those businesses up there. And so how the council decides to finally work through and decide how to assess that rear alley is going to be up to them. That would be decided a year from now at the assessment hearing. Obviously, there'll be discussions between now and then. But the city has a handful of ways that they could assess out that alleyway at their disposal. So
what's the front is 100%, the side streets and the dual frontage is 20%. The alley is 100%. Is that considered dual frontage?
It's considered dual frontage, but okay, so everybody there has dual frontage on the backside. So what I could take is, let's say your rear is 60 feet. But if I reduce yours down to 20%, say it's 12, I do that to your neighbor and do that to your neighbor, everybody gets reduced down to 20%. All it does is reduce your actual accessible front footage and increases your price on per foot. The dollar amount is the same.
But if somebody has 100 and someone has 10, somebody's for 100 feet, someone has 10 feet. That's what the alley, it needs it. I mean, I'm not fighting the need for it. I'm just, I don't think it's fair that some people have tiny parcels, and I don't have a 10-foot parcel.
Yeah. I can't. Here's the proposed assessment roll right here. This is the preliminary assessment roll. This is not final, but this is something I can share with you folks out in the hallway afterwards if you liked it. I can't read this right now because it's printed so damn small, but I can tell you that the largest parcel in that alleyway that's being assessed is being assessed back to the city of Harmony. And that's at 59 feet or 55 feet, something like that. Everybody is drastically under that 60-foot number. And so the way we put together the feasibility report, the way we present to the council, is that everybody bumps up to that 60% and we assess it. We could also, again, bump it up to 60%, but then take it down, take everybody's down by 20%, or bump to 60 feet. We could take it down to 20%. It's just going to increase the dollar per foot. Everybody's going to have less feet to pay, but the numbers will be the same. Again, the council has a couple different ways to look at these. Assessment policies are written to try to be as fair and equitable for every scenario in town, but every scenario in town is a little bit different. And so I think the council does their best to stick to the policy as it's written, but they look at every individual project differently. And if they think that there is a more fair and more equitable way to assess these improvement costs back to these parcels, I think they'll consider it. But again, that'll be considered at the assessment hearing a year from now.
What's the reasoning for paving behind this next door?
This figure that you guys are looking at tonight, we took some of those pavement areas off of aerial photos. We haven't gone out and done an actual survey. Actually, we have now. Prior to this, we haven't. Some people have pavements up to their rear loading dock areas. Some people have paved parking back there. Some people have gravel parking back there. We have not set the limits of the paving back there yet. We'll do that with city staff involvement during the design process. But to say that we can reconstruct that alleyway appropriately, reconstruct it so that it functions and doesn't fall apart, and reconstruct it so that the drainage works by saying, well, we want to pave a 12-foot alley and saw cutting 12-foot wide path down the middle and paving it is just something we cannot do. And so some of those areas are planned to be paved back. If you look at that figure, it doesn't really matter whether it's showing extra pavement behind someone's building or not behind someone's building. Right now, what I'm trying to figure out is how much are we reasonably going to end up paving back, and how can I get that quantity and that project dollar amount so that I can figure out what the assessments are going to be and talk to you folks tonight. So as far as specifics on whether there appears to be more paving behind someone's building on that figure or not, it's all going to be up to final design, and it's going to be up to a conversation between myself and the staff and ultimately the Street and Utility Commission as well.
Is there going to be any weight limits on this paving back there once it's all done? Or is it going to all get torn up right away with heavy equipment, heavy semis, heavy vehicles?
Well, I guess that's ultimately going to be up to the council. It's nice to have a paved alleyway. This alleyway, I think, needs to be paved. At the same time, where do businesses have their dumpsters? In the back. Where do businesses take on their shipments and their loading docks? In the back. And so to restrict weight limits back here.
So how much weight will the paving take if they put it 2, 3, 4 inches?
We'll reconstruct this as a 9-ton road. We'll reconstruct just like any other road. It's going to have a full depth section. And if I doubt you guys were paying attention back in 2020 when we reconstructed the alleyway 1 block south of this. Mm-hmm. It's got the same pavement section that First Avenue does.
Is it the same depth and construction as the alley on the west side of Main there? We do have the concrete drain in the middle of that, but that's the same.
You're testing me because I don't know exactly when I designed that.
Mm-hmm.
That was quite a while ago, almost 16 years ago or so.
But that's held up to semis.
Yeah. Again, we'll have soil borings done, and we'll take a look at the geotechnical and we'll design it appropriately. But to say that the council is going to limit garbage trucks and delivery trucks back there, I can't speak for the council, but it's pretty hard to even have an alleyway if you're going to limit it like that. So
I'll throw my question out there. I manage Wickman Pig down here. We have semis coming daily.
Yep.
We're gonna be able to keep access during the project?
yeah, part of the contract with the contractor is going to be maintaining access. Now for some residential properties, that's going to be difficult. Typically in our contracts, we make sure that people can get in and out. Residents can get in and out of their garages, their driveways. They can get out before 7 o'clock in the morning. They can get back in after 7 o'clock. The contractor doesn't try to do that to you though, right? They try to keep access as much as they possibly can for businesses like yourself, for businesses like the golf course, right? And the other businesses that are along this area. It's important to have access as much as possible. The contractor will be held to maintaining some type of temporary access. Now, in front of your building, I don't think we have a water main replacement, but if we wanted to go down in front of the car dealership, we're going to replace the water main and the sanitary sewer right in front of it. There's going to be some time that we're just not going to be able to get in and out of there. But the contractor will do everything they can to maintain access to businesses and to residents, and it will be in the contract. So, yeah, we've thought about the golf course, we've thought about you, we've thought about all the businesses along here as well as the residents. You know, no one wants to go through a construction job and not use their garage for a summer. So
Snake Alley gonna be torn up same time as, Fourth Street?
it's going to be bid out as the same contractor. How they phase it is not up to us. What I will do is I will make them only have so many blocks open at a time. So let's say that they start on 4th and they put in the sanitary sewer and they put in the water main, and then they put some temporary little driveways into people, and then decide they're going to jump up to Snake Alley and start digging in sanitary sewer without actually reconstructing 4th. We're not going to allow that. So if they start on 4th and they get the utilities in, they're going to have to get that roadway built back up to an aggregate surface before we let them go dig something else up.
So you get up, I could get up the back way. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, and even that Snake Alley improvement is going to be, the people on 4th are going to have a construction season, right? It's going to suck. The people on Snake Alley, it's going to be a couple days worth of storm sewer improvements. They're going to reconstruct a 10-foot wide roadway section, string up for curb, put curb in, pour a couple driveways back that are adjacent to that curb. And then you're not going to know they're even there until they show up to pave again. And so that area is going to see a very quick construction season. The alleyway, area 3, is going to be very similar. Only you're gonna have to deal with the new electrical utility going in the spring first, right? So that's going to go in, and then we're going to come in and we're going to subcut it and reconstruct that alleyway. But again, it's only an alleyway. It's not like we're doing an interstate, so it's not a whole lot of dirt to move, but it'll take a little bit of time, and it will disrupt deliveries and garbage and all the fun stuff. Any other questions by council staff? Yep.
How is payment going
Oh.
to be needed?
Yep. Sorry. That's something I should have mentioned. There's a couple different ways to pay. Obviously, when we go through and we have this assessment hearing that's very similar to this a year from now, you typically have until November 15th to make payment in full and be done with it. That's not an option for a lot of people. The city will end up likely taking out a 15-year bond loan to pay for this project. And so what the city does with these assessments is they allow the affected parcel owners to roll those over to their taxes over that same 15-year period. And so if the city takes out a 15-year loan to pay for this project, you guys have the chance to either pay it all up front and be done with it, let all of it roll over to your taxes, and it'll be paid out over 15 years through your taxes through the county. Or you could prepay half of it and roll over the rest, or you could roll it onto your taxes, and 5 years from now, you hit the lottery and you want to just pay it off, you can walk into the courthouse and pay it off. So you can either pay it up front, stretch it out over 15 years, or anything in between for the most part.
And at what percentage rate is the loan?
Percentage rate is 1% above what the city borrows for. So I don't know what the city's gonna be able to borrow for when we do this. Interest rates are pretty not great right now. But let's say the city borrows for 5%, you guys will get charged 6% on your taxes. City's able to borrow for 2%, like some cities could. I don't know what we borrowed for the 2020 project, but it was probably damn near 2%. Then 3% is what was charged out in taxes.
Can you give us an example?
increase of what the amount might be, say on Fourth Street, northeast.
On Fourth Street. So yeah, I mean, we can guess that I told you $118.06 or something a foot. Let's just say it was $100 a foot, right? If it was $100 a foot and you have 100 feet of frontage, you have a $10,000 assessment. So again, that,
You have a fixed income.
yep. There are a couple things available to some people through the state statute. If you're over the age of 65 and you can prove to the city that this would be a financial burden, there is an appeal process. It's not really an appeal process, but you can ask for that assessment to be put on your property and then deferred until it's sold. So it's like putting a lien on your property. So again, there's a process for that. There's paperwork to submit to the city. The city then decides, is it a financial burden or not? But there is a process for that.
Now with the new type of curb and gutter you're putting in, is it a step up curb?
Yes.
type thing?
Yep.
And why are we going with that? Instead of like over the new development on the south side?
Yeah, the only reason we do surmountable curb, so the curb you're talking about on the south side is we put that surmountable curb in, we don't know where anyone's driveway is, right? And we don't want people cutting the roadway up. And so that's why we put that surmountable curb in. The barrier curb is, I realize that it can be a pain in the butt for someone that has an issue stepping up. But other than that, the barrier curb is a little bit safer and it conveys stormwater a whole lot better. So if you have a carriage walk, let's say your front door goes out to Fourth and you have a sidewalk that goes to the back of the curb. If you have a carriage walk or something like that and would want to request a curb cutout at that sidewalk, that's something that we could definitely do.
There's no assessment at that point.
No.
Okay.
No.
Well, I just also think of handicap accessibility, because with the other one, pretty much.
I know it's,
no matter where.
we get caught here too, because we want to make everything as handicap accessible as possible. But if we make it handicap accessible, but not quite ADA accessible, then we have problems. And so it's very hard to meet some of those ADA standards. And so if we can't meet those ADA standards to the T, we can't do that on a public sidewalk or something like that. Now, for a carriage walk, for instance, your private sidewalk going from your front door out to your parking space or whatever, we can do a curb cutout for you. That's not a problem. Any more questions from council or staff or general public? If not, the next thing
Just wondering about, it shows proposed, this is on Fourth Street going out towards the golf course. After 30 years, they decided now that they want to put a water main out through here. I built out there 30 years ago and they didn't want to put a water main through there. Now, last I knew, that from Linda Moses out to the golf course, the city didn't even own that street. But, and that's why they didn't want to do it last time. Well, maybe that's changed in the last, since I built it. That road was, basically a driveway that attaches all the way back to the farm out in the golf course.
where's Linda Moses?
Corner second and fourth.
Okay. I'll tell you what, I'll look it up, but I believe the city owns that right away. Why do we want to put that water main in? We want to loop that water main. The water main that gets to your place actually comes off of that intersection of Second and Fifth and back through that easement and then back down to you, right?
Well, I know it comes because they put it in when I built the house, so, and I'm on the end of it, us in the golf course, unless someone can build off to the north, there isn't gonna be anyone else building in there, so.
So we loop.
Why do we need to loop it?
Well, if we don't loop it, if there's a problem 3 blocks up from you and we need to shut it down, you're out of water. So we loop water main for a couple different things. So when we do have issues, we have to maintain something or fix something. We minimize the number of people that are out of water, right? If we can backfeed them around a different way, we're not keeping people out of water. We also loop it for fire protection. and water supply. And we also loop it so that you're not the person on a dead end slug of water. And if the golf course isn't using much water during the winter time and you're the only one drawn off of it, your water gets stagnant and sometimes it smells like rotten eggs, right? And sometimes it isn't the greatest. So we loop water mains to try to keep everything as fresh as we can. It's also the reason why we flush the hydrants, to try to keep that going. But looping water mains helps your fire protection. It helps your water quality. It helps not having people out of water when we do have problems.
Well, like I say, the only reason I'm bringing this up is because they couldn't do it back when I built, they couldn't go up through there.
Yep.
So,
And I've been in town for 22 years, but I haven't been in town that long. But I was in town for the people just north of you when we built there. And at that point, we wanted to put a road back there too, from the intersection of 5th and 2nd over there. And there's things that we have done in the past that we are not doing now. There's decisions that were made 25 years ago that we're making different decisions now. But now that we're reconstructing 4th, yeah, we do want to loop that water main for the reasons I stated. Any more questions? Yeah.
Why are we assessed for so much for the street when so many people use it going to the golf course?
Yeah, well, there's businesses all over, right? So the golf course happens to be at the end of this. So they're easy to pick on. Quick Trip happens to be on the other side of the highway. They're easy to pick on too.
There's lots of semis and things that go up First Street going to the golf course.
Yep, I'm sure they get Cisco deliveries at least weekly and beer deliveries weekly, at least during the summer. Assessments are assessed back to the adjacent properties. The 60% that the city is paying is borne by the entire tax base, including those taxes paid by those businesses, whether it be Quick Trip or the golf course. What's that?
Where does their car license go then?
Goes to the state. That's why you can drive up 52. It doesn't go to 4th. I know that.
So does the golf course and all those get assessed as well?
Yep. Every property, including that property, those properties owned by the city of Harmony. So every property adjacent to it gets assessed. And that's, I don't think we have any here, but if you go back to our 2020 project, we had churches being assessed and we have, even parcels that are prior owners that are tax exempt get assessed for improvements like this. So
yeah, the school will get assessed on the backside from where
built in 1995 there, Alan.
4th Street over. Football field?
Yes.
Stuff, or- okay.
yeah, I'm like, no, the school's not close to this project. No,
I was thinking same. It is.
all right, I've taken up 45 minutes. If there are questions, go ahead and ask them. Otherwise, the next.
I just know that's why they didn't do that. Because they didn't know.
Otherwise, the next thing that'll happen is the mayor will close the meeting and then move on with the rest of the agenda. And that agenda includes council consideration on moving forward with plans and specifications for this improvement. So again, this is part of the Chapter 429 process. This is just the first part of it. We've been working on our parts, but this is the first part for the public. And we'll be in contact with you further on if the project moves forward.
If you guys want a conversation, could you go out in the hall? We've got a meeting going on. Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, since there were no other questions for the public hearing, we'll now close the public hearing on the 2024 street project. And we'll move right into new business. And we have requesting approval to remaining tasks for the street project proposal.
Could I make a slight change to the agenda? Because it's my fault. I hit delete and I didn't catch it.
Okay.
We have this wonderful lady from Smith who wanted to just do a quick presentation about, sorry, I hit delete and I go, I'm sorry. Can you please do your quick presentation?
I will.
Yeah.
All
I don't
right.
want to have you wait till the end and bore you to death, but sorry, my bad. I was like, this doesn't look right. Oops. Oh, anyway. So, because I knew I could not do Smith's work justice and kind of their,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You and I were-
yes, we were emailing back and forth.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
I've met
Yes, yep,
someone,
Yep.
maybe on the Unity Foundation training.
yep, I was there.
Are you going tomorrow?
I won't because we have a meeting tomorrow night too.
So my apologies. I got everything, I got everything else. Yes.
Thank you for getting me in. My name is Sarah and I'm from Smith. I think I've talked to this council before. Some of you might know Alyssa or Tim better, and they both sent hellos for you. I am here tonight to just talk to you about a few of the things that Smith has been doing around the region and in Fillmore County. We're really proud of the work that we've done in Fillmore County. Specifically, in your folder that I gave you, there's a fact sheet specific to your county. And for every dollar that is given to Smith, we put $33 back into Fillmore County, which is phenomenally high. Region-wide, we average about $13 for every dollar that is given to Smith, which is also excellent. But we really have a great ROI here in Fillmore County. So we do a lot of grant making and work here. We've given a lot of books to area communities here. We do a lot with the early childhood space. We're working really hard to support those child caregivers because we know that that's a big area of concern as far as having those child care shortages. I'm not sure if you guys are still experiencing that. We do offer those trainings that offer the continuing ed credits both in different locations around the region to make them accessible and online as well to make them accessible to everyone. We know you guys are kind of down here a little bit further from some of the other bigger areas in the region. So we want everybody to have an opportunity to be able to go to those trainings. We also, like I said, we do grant making.
Somebody want to grab the door?
Yeah, the door.
Thanks, Greg.
We also offer a lot of gap lending in addition to working with our partners. And when we do these lendings, we work with all different kinds of entrepreneurs. We like to focus on the BIPOC, women, veterans, the underserved, disabled, and we have a prosperity initiative program. So if you know any entrepreneurs that would fall into this category, we take anybody into this program, whether they're just starting their business or they've been in business a long time, and we can meet them where they're at. We can give them free technical assistance. So whether they already have QuickBooks up and running and they just need to move to the next level, or they just need to get that going, they need to figure out how to market, whatever they may need, we can meet them and get them going a little bit further along on whatever step they need to take for their entrepreneurs. We do a lot with local foods. We just had the Feast local food marketplace in Rochester last weekend. I don't know if any of you heard anything about that, but it was awesome. There was 1,400 people that showed up, and there was 90 vendors, and it was a sip, sample, and shop event. So there was lots of, besides just food, like wine, spirits, beer to sample. So you'll have to keep that on your radar for next year if you didn't make it this year. And we also focus on small towns. So you guys fit right into that. We have two very specific small town areas. We do the small town grant round in the spring, and that's for communities under 10,000. And then we do the Paint the Town grant, which is just, we donate paint in conjunction with our partners for murals, spiffing up historical buildings, that kind of thing. So please keep those things in mind if you have projects that need to be done. So do you have any questions? I want to keep this short because I know your meeting is already going really long tonight. Anything? Okay, and please email me or let Sam know and she'll email me if anything comes up. We would love your support. Cities and counties are some of our biggest funders, so we would really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. And everybody knows, or maybe they don't, that Smith is the parent of our Harmony Area Community Foundation.
Oh,
And
Yes.
I was trying to hurry since your meeting was.
Oh, you're fine. You're
Yep.
fine.
Yep, you're
Thank
fine,
you.
you're fine, thank you. And they've matched a lot of our grants through the years. I think it's some $40,000 that they've sent us in matching with our grants. So
They
we
did-
appreciate them very much.
Yeah, and they did quite a bit for the splash pad and with that too, so it's wonderful.
All right.
Do you want me to go grab Brett? He's gonna talk a little bit about the,
Okay.
if, unless you're fine, so we've approved, kind of jumped a little bit with the, I don't have the street and utilities, project all in front of me. We've done was it last month, we approved the surveying portion of it.
Mhm.
And that, so now what the rest of it really is just we're approving the rest of the 2024 street and utilities project, as it is. Or if you want to eliminate certain things, whatever, but have that discussion. Especially after the public hearing and that, but.
Or do we,
Maybe we should just move down.
Or we can
ways
move
and
down,
leave-
do a couple.
leave A and B.
Yep.
Until
Yeah, I
Brett
want him
can
to
get
talk
back
about
in.
that UV design request.
Okay. So the C, the development agreement compliance,
Yeah.
we haven't heard from them, or did we?
I have not heard any updates from Chris, so I
Okay.
assume no.
No, and I talked with Chris this afternoon
Okay.
and there's been no communication, as of today.
I can give an overview of that if you'd like.
What's that? Yeah,
Give an
yeah,
overview of that
sure.
if you would like. So what that relates to is about 2 years ago, the EDA sold a lot in Industrial Park to Jeff O'Connor, based on a proposal and plans and specifications to build a building there. And so part of the terms of that agreement were that he construct that building within 1 year purchase. That the EDA and the council approved extending that for a year, to give him an extra year to build. That extension runs up at the end of December. So for timing purposes, this is on this meeting's agenda so that we can move forward promptly if nothing else happens.
His current
within a
extension
yeah,
ends at the end of November, right?
at the end of the year. But so sorry, I missed a step.
Yeah.
We as EDA approved granting him one more extension if he needs it. With these extensions, there's been the requirement that he pay, last year was $6,800, this year $7,500 to compensate us for the lost tax revenue for that building not being erected so that the city isn't losing ground there. So that offer's on the table. Chris Geeson has not heard back anything, yay, nay, or neutral. So this is an attempt to be prepared to move forward with enforcing the agreement should he not respond at all to the offer to extend it. And so in this situation, the land is supposed to go back to the EDA if it's not developed or if it doesn't comply with the development agreement, but that doesn't just happen at the snap of our fingers. It means suiting up and going to court. So what this proposal is to get the council's blessing to hire somebody other than me, and two reasons for that. One being I'm not a litigator. So this falls outside the wheelhouse of my normal work. So I think it's suitable for somebody who does go to court regularly to handle something like this. And two, being a part of the drafting of the agreement and on the EDA, it just feels better to be separated from it. So this would be seeking the council's blessing to solicit and hire somebody else to be prepared to do that should the extension not be done in December.
And the current extension right now is, well, in your packet, I give you a little bit of an agenda overview, or an item overview, but the offered extension needs to be accepted by December 1st.
Yeah, we told them we want to know
This
by
year.
December 1st, so we didn't have to wait till the end of December to
Right.
act if we needed to.
And we could just say, no, to all of it, right? I mean, this is what you're bringing, I guess, from the EDA point, is to do this extension, but we could vote and say, not that, it's not built by now, right? Or my,
Well, we as an EDA have already offered him an extension, so if he accepted that,
okay,
um,
why does that go there then not to us?
why is that?
Why do, like,
Well, it's EDA purview and I guess and we probably had that approved when we did the extension by the council, so council did
one extension? Right, you're saying,
the offer of the next one.
That was back in summer. I don't remember specifically if it was brought for the council or not.
I don't think we would
Yeah.
give them, I went vote to give them another extension
Mhm.
after the first one was done. But you think that was back in
June.
the summer?
Well,
It
it
was
was
June
in
or
it was
July
in
we
the
talked
EDA
about it.
minutes that we had offered it.
Okay.
So,
And he's paying taxes on it as though there's a building there, so that was kind of the other thing, is that the city is getting back tax revenue
Yeah.
as if there was a building there, so.
Okay,
it
okay.
makes sense.
the penalty he pays to miss a year of having that building.
Gotcha. Okay.
It's compensating us just in a different,
Way.
versus us getting our the
Taxes from the actual.
from
building.
the building, he's
Yeah.
paying it up
Okay.
to upfront to us for the year in total.
We don't typically want that or do that. And-
No, and we can't do that indefinitely because that's
Right.
the kind of the concept. If you buy that property, it's not, people don't get to buy it for investment and sit on it. They need to build something.
And the
So-
other limiting factor is that there's no plans submitted for building either.
Yeah, and to date, there have been no formal plans submitted to me as far as site plans to bring, but to even talk to planning and zoning about, or to even think about issuing a building permit to date, so.
And I believe when this offer for another year extension was communicated to him, it was last chance sort of thing. I think it set the expectation, if I remember right, that
Mhm.
this is the last time we're going to offer this. So hopefully this proves unnecessary if in the next 2 weeks paperwork signed to kind of restructure the agreement to give that final year. But because I don't want to wait till middle of December, that's why it's on the meeting for tonight, to get pre-approval to go ahead and at least get somebody lined up to be able to help with that if we need it after December 1st.
I'd make a motion to seek outside counsel if needed to pursue
I'll
legal
second
action.
that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll call for a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Motion carries. You ready for us? We
Yeah,
just jumped ahead.
I
and
lost
did
my
some others.
agenda and obviously we've moved around here a little bit, so.
Now
um,
we're on A.
We're back on to new business.
Yeah, I don't
Request
have the
approval
agenda
for
anymore.
remaining tasks.
All right, so this comes back to the proposal that was in front of you guys on October 5th, last month. Again, at that point, you guys approved task 3, which was the preliminary survey and the existing conditions mapping. And then we left task 1, 2, 4 through 7 for after tonight's public hearing. So all I'm doing is asking that if you believe that you'd like to move forward with this project, the next step is to approve the proposal so we can start planning the specifications and public bid in the spring. So again, if you have any questions about the proposal, I'm here to answer them. Otherwise, I'm asking for your consideration on moving forward with it if you so choose.
Well, I'm still foggy on the alley and the paving that's shown on the private property.
Yeah, the same answer. I'll give you the same
Yeah.
answer I gave them. I know that we're not going to pave 12-foot wide back there.
Okay.
And so we're going to have, as a staff and likely as a street and utility commission or street and utility committee, we're going to have to decide the limits of what we're going to pave.
Okay.
But I know we can't pave 12 feet. And I know that we can't mandate those private property owners to pave their own stuff either. And so a lot of times what I've done, a lot of back Main Street alleys look exactly like this one. If they have parking, we pave it. We do it as part of the project and we're done with it. Now, if you want to do that on the side and not assess it to anyone, I can split those costs out. But if we don't pave it, no one will. And if no one paves it, it's going to be a mess. So all I did was try to, again, like I told the gentleman here, all I tried to do was make sure that I had enough costs in there to be able to portray what their estimated assessments were going to be.
So there's no way to have each of them have a little extra foot or
I don't think that we can,
a
I don't
disappearing.
think we can mandate that they pave something on their own private property and then charge them for it. So I think we either get an easement from them and do it, just a construction easement and do it. And we either spread those costs over everybody, or the city eats that portion, or we put it in as a 12-foot alley, but we know that it's
Well, if
going to
we
be a
were
mess.
paying, if we were paying for it, we could just do, unless they objected to it, we could do a couple feet onto their property to protect, because I guess what you're talking about is if they're driving up and down on the alley from an unimproved driveway.
If you have a
it's gonna wreck the
12-foot
alley.
wide paved bituminous alleyway,
Yep.
with no drainage improvements back there, and you have soft aggregates on both the east and the west side of that, and dump trucks and whoever, right? Nobody, any delivery truck, any garbage truck, anything isn't going to be able to stay within that 12 feet. So they're going to have a loaded truck driving on and off of that hard surface. Our
Mhm.
alley will look just like it did a year ago within 5 years.
Mhm.
And so we need to pave it all. How we want to pay for that, I don't know, but it's really hard to say, well, we're going to pave it all and we're going to pave this on your private property and we're going to bill you back for it. That's not exactly easy to do.
Every property up there is gonna be different, because you're gonna have to line up with every elevation that you have behind the building, so it's kind of gonna be a case to case. What you do.
Yeah, and some of them already have like concrete back there anyway, so.
Right.
What is your
And
plan?
if you look at the
What
alleyway
is your
directly
plan?
south of that, you can see kind of what we did,
Right.
you know?
Does that run, but the water's gonna run off the sides. It's not running down the center.
I haven't looked at the survey yet.
Okay.
We're going to have to decide that. Run off the sides. I mean, it obviously can't run off to the side of the west, otherwise it's running into buildings, right? It's probably going to run down the center.
That's what I'm thinking.
Realistically.
And have we talked anything about First Avenue there? How tore up that is, in front of the water tower?
No.
We just talked
The
about
surface is
building
just-
on the intersections a little bit, when they go back to pave, where the waters come out. That's not-
Yeah. On the north side, it was a little bit different with the alleyway to the south here because we did we drilled water main through there. So yeah, here are we gonna go out into Center Street as far as we have to, and the First Street Northeast as far as we have to make sure that it's right. Yeah, but yeah, there is some existing bituminous back there. There's some existing concrete back there. I think I can't make that decision, so it's going to have to be myself with the street and utility committee plus the staff just to walk out there and say, all right, this is what we should do, and just do it. And then you can deal with how you're going to assess it on the back end, whether you assess it or not, I guess.
Okay. To be decided. Good.
So again, if the city would like to move forward with the project, I would ask you to consider approving tasks 1, 2, and 4 through 7 of the proposal presented to you guys back in October. And if we do that, we'll start work or continue work.
I make a motion to approve 1, 2, 4 through 7.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. All right, and the UV design?
All right, do you guys have copies of that? All right, I apologize for it being as late as it was. But we did get it. And I did read it, right? But I'll read it in front of you right now, just to make sure I know what I'm talking about. Our wastewater treatment group went through and put together a proposal for a preliminary design. And they requested putting together a preliminary design as opposed to a full design proposal at this point, because we believe that we can do something that SEH did not want to do or did not think that they could physically do. And so if you think back of the report that they provided you guys, they wanted to do in-pipe UV disinfectant. That is a pain in the butt, and it's expensive and it's high maintenance. And so if you can, you don't do in-pipe, you do open channel. And so myself and Peter Daniels, our wastewater lead, met with your staff out there a couple months ago and just looked at it and thought, why couldn't we do this? I mean, I know why SEH wasn't going to do it, but I think we can make a couple changes and make it work. And so that's our goal right now, is to make sure that we can make that work. And so before we get a proposal from you guys for whatever dollar amount to move forward with a full design and publicly bid this thing, we wanted to put in front of you guys a preliminary design proposal. That's what this is. It's got two tasks in it. One's the site survey and the wastewater testing. The other one's a concept design. But you can think back to the proposal that you guys just approved, right? I had you guys approve task 3, and then now just had you approve task 1s, 2, and 4 through 7. You can look at this proposal as approving task 1 and 2 of an actual 7-task proposal. But we want to get to a preliminary design and have those discussions with you guys before coming back for a final design and make sure that our proposed concept is going to work. And so what you have in front of you is a proposal for that work. Project understanding, obviously, the existing disinfection process currently is the chlorine gas feed system with the dechlorinated tablets. It's inconsistent, it's expensive. We want to go to a UV system. We would like to do an open channel UV system, which was not recommended or not proposed by your previous report. Scope of work, task 1 is the site survey and the wastewater testing. We want to go out there, we want to do a survey of everything and make sure that we can physically make that open channel work out there. The wastewater testing, we get samples, or have Corey take samples and we send
When
them.
you say out there, are you out at the end of our effluent flow? Or
No,
at
we're
the
talking
plant? At the
right
plant?
outside of your building, right? The door that you go in to talk to Corey or Rick, there's a manhole right there. We want to work between that building and your drying beds. So that's the footprint of this project. Do a survey, make sure that we can physically make that work in that space. And the wastewater testing, we need to get samples of your influent flow and send it off and have it tested so that we know what size, type, and intensity of UV disinfectant we need. So that's part of task 1. And then task 2 is a concept design. Again, we want to use a UV system. We want to do an open channel flow. We know the parameters that we're going to have to meet through your MPCA permit. And after we know the wastewater testing, we can put together that design and make sure it's going to work. And then we come back to you guys. Deliverables would be the results of the beam testing provided by UV equipment vendor. So we take that wastewater treatment and decide what we need. And then the UV vendor sizes everything we need. A technical memo, present the concept design, the draft, and final versions of that. So we'll have conversations with you folks as well as your staff throughout this process. Meetings, obviously the survey staff's going to be out there. We'll have an initial contact or initial kickoff meeting with Corey and Rick and your street and utility committee if they would like online, and then we'll do an in-person review draft of the draft report and the cost estimates and talk through everything before we finalize that and bring it back to the full council. There's an estimated schedule here. I had Pete put this in here because I wanted you guys to see kind of where we're at and how this can work. Concept design, which is right now, this proposal in front of you, November to January. Begin final design in February, complete design in April, MPCA plan review in June, bidding in July and August, construction in September through March. That's if we don't utilize federal funding or any specialized funding sources if we do utilize those types of funding sources, there are reviews, there are different things we need to do that will extend this out. With that said, we are on the PPL. We are not on the IUP. So we're on the project priority list, but we're not on the intended use plan. We can get on the IUP next year if we if we want to use that money through the PFA and request to be moved on. Again, there are pluses and minuses to it. What you will end up qualifying for, you guys would have qualified by just the hair on your chin this funding round, meaning your project is a good project, but there's a whole lot of more needy projects out there for the funding that they have. So I think we will qualify again if we want to. But if we do that, it stretches out the design. It costs more money to build simply because of the funding agency requirements. But you save money on the back end, right? Because you get a lower interest loan. You're not going to get grant money, but you get a low interest loan. Now, low interest loan means not low, but it means below borrowing rate. So we need to have a discussion and decide whether taking money at the below the borrowing rate is actually worth taking that money. On top of it, in order to get on the IUP, the reason that we're not on there right now is the MPCA called us after we submitted the PPL application. In order to move on to the IUP, we need to do a facility report. So this isn't a $100,000 facility report like you would need if you're reconstructing or building a whole new plant, but it's not a free facility report either. But it's a step that we need to do for the MPCA to move forward on it. Again, that costs money too. So we just have to have that discussion. If you guys think you want to utilize PFA money, we have to have that discussion, talk about the pluses and minuses, and decide whether it's actually worth doing or not. But this is a proposed schedule if you're not going to use that money. Fee estimate, this is all on an hourly basis with the staff that we need to do this. That staff is not me. These are wastewater treatment designers. Also building, all the people you would need to build a building, right? Your electrical, your architectural, your structural, your HVAC people, because this open channel is digging down, putting a huge concrete pit and open channel with this UV, and on top of that you build a building. You know, we're not talking about a ridiculously big building or a fancy building, but everybody that you need with licenses to build that building. On an hourly basis, we're estimated at $19,690 to go through preliminary design.
And when you say preliminary design, you mean the concept design? So we look at it and then we see like cost estimates and then decide
Yep.
whether we're going forward or not?
Yeah, it's more than that. I mean, yes, the answer is yes, but it's more than that, right? We'll have the wastewater testing done at that point. We'll have the UV sizing done at that point, and we'll prove that our concept can work and that we can do open channel flow. And we'll have figures a whole lot more detailed than this. They're going to show exactly how it's going to go. So again, I want you to think of this proposal being task 1 and 2 of a 7-task proposal, and know that if you move forward on this, this isn't just a report so we can come back with a huge proposal to you in the future. This is just the first part of a larger proposal. But we want to prove this concept before we come back and get a design proposal for everything.
So why did SEH propose in-pipe UV?
When you come out of that building on the east side, ultimately we're treating the effluent, right? We're treating everything coming out of the wastewater treatment plant. When you come out of that building on the east side, it hits a manhole probably 10 feet away from the edge of the building and drops in elevation significantly. I think there's a 5 or 6 foot drop in that structure and then takes off. I don't know why SEH decided what they decided. But with that drop in that line, it is not, with that drop in that line, it's not feasible to do a open channel. But there's no reason that drop in that line needs to be where it's at. It doesn't need to be in that manhole 10 feet from your building. So what we are proposing is taking that drop, taking that structure out, building our open channel pit and everything there at that higher elevation, and building that drop in elevation of that pipe through that open channel or on the back side of that open channel. So we would take everything that they thought they needed to do 9 or 10 feet deep, and we'd bring it all up to 6 feet deep. And that would allow us to build what we want to build. But again, in order to prove that we can do that, that's what we're looking at this. Now, I believe that's why SEH decided or said what they said. You know,
Does this require pumping it up to the
Nope.
channel? No.
Nope.
It's already.
So if you have your building, this is gonna be hard. You have your building, your first floor elevation is here.
Yep.
And your sewer is coming out of your building here. Right 10 feet outside of that building, it drops elevation in that manhole and flies. Well, if we take this manhole structure out and we slide that drop 50 feet down the pipeline, and we build that open channel UV where that drop was and drop that pipe beyond it, then we can do what we want to do. And so again, this is to prove that we can do that concept. I don't think anyone, I don't know a lot about wastewater treatment plants, but I know more than you guys do. I can tell you that Corey and Rick know a lot more than I do, and they want nothing to do with in-pipe UVs. And you just don't. They're extremely expensive. You're taking these UVs, instead of shining on open channel flow, you're putting a bulb inside a pipe that has sewage running around it at all times. It's highly expensive to maintain and replace.
And so what do you do with flow levels? Because obviously they can increase greatly depending on what's going on in the city. You know, a new business comes in. So have expandability on this, or?
Yeah, you can crank up the bulbs. You know, so if you really wanted to read through this, which I don't, but I will for you.
Bulbs are automatic. They will turn off intensity.
Yeah.
Oh, they do. Okay.
So you designed to meet the MPC redundancy requirements for UV systems, including 2 UV models, each rated for 50% of the peak hourly flow. So we're looking at peak flows for everything you guys have done over the last 5 years, and we're rating everything for that. And then you can dial it down to actually what you need. But you can crank it up.
Okay.
So the fee estimate includes the preliminary design and the design itself.
No, just the preliminary design. It includes the wastewater testing, it includes the site survey, it includes the preliminary design, and coming back to you guys with the findings, improving of the concept of the preliminary design and cost estimates to
And
what
cost estimate.
it's going to end up being.
We'll make a motion to move ahead. with this.
Have a motion and a second to move ahead with the concept design and fee schedule. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll call for a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Anything else for me?
That should do it.
All right, thanks, Brad.
Thank you. Should be enough. Good work. Personnel Committee. Want to take the lead on that, Sam?
Well, I think you're the lead on that, aren't you? But okay. One of the things that you guys wanted to see were some reviews done. I did learn through some digging and going through our, we just had a wage study done in the last couple of years. Found out that the utility superintendent position questionnaire had not been received by David Drown and Associates for review. They were gracious enough to take a look at that review. And of course, Brian has been doing this for a couple of years now. He's kind of my go-to person. I think sometimes he gets tired of getting my phone calls, but has really stepped up in his role, works with Brett quite a bit, utility committee. And the Personnel committee conducted the reviews. Brian and Terry were still working on Corey. He's been on some vacations and things, get him in. But David Drown had come back with Brian's roles that he's taken on and his duties to move him up a couple of grades. I believe I have given you your salary grid, the current one for this year. I have a couple more years to work on, but currently, personnel committee would like to move Brian Michael, utility superintendent, move him to a grade 7, step 2. Step 2 mainly because he has been doing the work. He's proven himself. Lisa and I both have had 6-month probationary periods, and then we kind of come off of our step 1 and go to our step 2. Terry Biak recommending grade 4, step 9. He's topped out. I think been here the longest. But Terry not only doesn't just empty garbages, he does all the plumbing. He does flushing of water lines. If Brian's gone, he will help out, fill in all areas, even down at the wastewater treatment plant. Corey Whalen is part of his wastewater treatment plant operator with his biosolids, moving him up to a step 5, grade 5. Step 5, grade 5. So I think he was at a 6 and 6 or 6 and 7. I can't remember how many years he's at, but that's a typical shift. When you move up, as you go down a step, it'll add to his longevity too. So it adds another year to his topping out, so to speak. So requesting approval for those changes to be made, and those will be effective this payroll.
I'd make a motion to approve the employee evaluations and pay grade moves.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
So we had a pay equity study done recently.
Yeah, a wage study. Yep, a pay equity.
study.
Yep, wage study. Yep.
How does that work with individual pay increases?
So that wage study through pay equity there's a point system and a ranking system. So they would take multiple other cities similar to our size, take their job duties, their classifications, and they rank them. It's really the personnel committee based on reviews and things like that.
That study set the
That study
grades
set
and
the grades
pays.
and everything, yeah,
For the position.
for the position. Yep,
For where we are now.
yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So that's why I had sent that to David Drown, because it wasn't on our current existing pay structure.
Oh,
So the last added yellow ones? Added.
Yep, we added those.
This was your original.
We added all
that they were
those.
going.
Yep. So you had room for movement because we didn't have any kind of movement. You went from, like deputy clerk, finance clerk, straight to administrator, and there was no room for any other
Yep. You went from
positions.
Grade 4 right to grade 11.
Yeah, so there was no other, you couldn't really classify or grade any other positions in there.
Okay, so that did not exist when we did our equity study.
Correct, yep.
And
And at some point, we're due for a new wage study.
Yep.
In a few years.
They're expensive.
But as I say, those are
and you
very
don't do them
expensive.
Very often.
No,
No.
we do them quite infrequently.
Any more discussion? Hearing none, we'll call for a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Union contract.
So union contract, personnel committee, myself, as well as Local 49, we met a couple of different times. It was actually a pretty seamless, it was very streamlined contract negotiation this year. I included their original letter. It was just the first initial draft with their requests. And then our final, it was actually a counter offer. Our final counter offer, as outlined in there, currently the guy, all of the guys get a $50 a month animal control stipend. Willing to eliminate that, but increase their animals to $20 a dog and cat and $30 for other animals. Though they may want more for skunks. I don't know if you could pay me enough to wrestle with a skunk. Article 13 with the health insurance. Currently, health insurance is 60-40. City bears 60%, 40% of the employee. City will bear 80% of the insurance. And then for people with family insurance, their VIBAs are $265 a month. Increasing all union insurance is family insurance, so we're going to increase their contribution with that. Not going away from the VIBA because we do have employees that have significant VIBAs and use those and want to keep that. Article 18 of the wages was 6%, 3 and 3, with the caveat that these 3% increases, should they choose, they could propose an MOU, a memorandum of understanding, to reopen that contract in the future should our inflation increase quite a bit. And then the other compensation, we were one employee who is responsible for the biosolid application, getting their increase as referenced in the original letter, which is we have to have biosolids, right? That's our biosolid application on our fields. So, and then Class B operators will get a 1 grade increase. They're responsible for the reporting and all that stuff. So, which is currently what we pay Rick Whitney for. Looking for approval for the counteroffer attached in the union contract, which will start in 2024, and that'll be for a 3-year contract.
So this is to approve, to send to them for them to approve? Or
Yep, they will actually, so what they will do is they'll take all, they've already voted on
okay,
it.
so you guys have accepted this proposal?
They've accepted it.
Okay.
Just that
Pending
they'll,
our approval here.
correct, yep, and then they'll send the final contract and we'll sign it.
And the 6, 3, and 3 is the COLA. cost of
Yeah,
living,
the COLA.
cost of living.
In the article 7.1 that talks about work or hours of work, why is that necessary? Monday through Friday, 7, I think it's 7 a.m.
Because it was not changed in the last contract. It's just a
It's just their.
It's just a
time.
clerical
It's their
correction.
normal, so if you don't change that, if they work till 4 o'clock, they get paid overtime.
Overtime.
So if you work outside of those hours, it's overtime.
Correct.
Correct.
Those are contractual hours, actual hours.
And I think correct me if I'm wrong, but you guys normally work like 7 to 4, right? Which you've always worked. It's just more of a
Just
clerical
cleaning it up.
cleanup of the contract.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve the union contract proposal. Any further discussion?
We took care of the biosolids one with Corey, right?
That's what you just did tonight.
Yeah.
Yep, correct. Yep.
We just left it in there in case we need to get another mouse.
Right, for
What-
another
yeah,
person. another
What
time or
happens
something,
if, yeah.
I just didn't want to make sure that we didn't do that and then we're doing another
No.
one here.
Yeah.
No, that's why we did that jump, tonight.
All right, hearing no further discussion, we'll call for a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. All right, resolution 2312 for temporary construction leases.
Yes, so, Mr. Geeson found out from the DNR that we need a little bit of extra footage to construct our trail, our bike trail. The DNR is needing, I can't remember how many feet it was, Greg.
It varies from
it-
parcel to parcel, yeah.
Okay, so they are looking for just temporary construction easements, basically, to construct the, to construct the trail. What we're asking is that the council allow myself or Mayor Donnie to sign those leases on behalf of the city. There's no money exchanged, it's temporary. Once the trail's constructed, the land goes back. Correct?
To be clear, the actual trail fits within the corridor. This is for the sloping grading,
Yeah.
so that they have permission to go on people's private property in a few instances to smooth that out nice, or put riprap in a couple of cases around culverts. So
Make a motion to adopt resolution 23-12.
Second. Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
So this probably is a little confusing because accounting is fun. So we have a negative TIF district, and with TIF rules and different things and how the Dairyland, there were different funds commingled. I need to make that correction. So it is a significant amount, but I would like to move the $57 from, it's a due from capital project fund over to water, which then would reimburse the TIF district. It's just a simple transactional thing that needs to be done. It was done last year. Just this is the last piece with our audit that did not get done. So I'm gonna zero that TIF district out and make it whole.
Okay. I'll make that motion.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve resolution 2313. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Reports. Anything going on with building and maintenance? Lots of things, I'm sure.
We just approved a bunch of them.
Yeah. The only thing I would like to say is, and I don't, do we have to figure out what they did with their phones? We did get high-speed internet. However, that also messed with our phones. So we've had the phone company here a couple of different times.
You mean fiber internet?
We got fiber internet hooked up. It's so fast, you gotta hang on to your computer. No. But what it did, we have a very old phone system, and it's competing kind of with the voice over IP system and the high-speed internet. So at times, our phones won't roll, or the second line will only roll to the on-call person. We're not sure exactly where that's at, but it might be time for a new phone system, but I'm working on that quote.
Okay.
Just because technology is fighting with the old stuff. If we cannot get parts for phones, we can't get new, anything replaced with our phone system, so. Just a heads up there.
Okay. EDA board, you can kind of see what we did, extended the CETA contract.
The EDA also talked about having a joint working group with the chamber over the winter to gather ideas on what that relationship looks like. We'd like to also have a couple members from city council on that too. That'll start in the beginning of the year, and there'll be a few meetings as needed. So we'll keep an ear out for that. Keep you posted. And then the comprehensive plan is drafted, and that's on the website, which I probably should have mentioned earlier, but that's available for public comment and review. And that can be found on the website under city information. There's contact information there too. So there's some time to get your input in.
In the EDA chamber meetings, we talked, we might post those as EDA or council
EDA or-
meetings.
Depending on how many people we have, yeah.
Yeah, we were thinking we'd like to have smaller, more focused groups at the moment, though.
Yeah, well, there's 3 of you.
Right.
We might have a quorum of one or the other, so we'd probably post them, just to make sure that we are not violating open meeting laws.
Yeah, but it
Correct.
can't be avoided.
Great.
Harmony Chamber, are you on here for, you don't have?
It's just a long standing bookmark.
It's-
Nothing to report.
It's a bookmark, just in case, you never know.
Park board meet?
We did meet, just approved some stuff for a mower and are waiting the final epoxy coating on the splash pad, really, which hopefully will be done this week.
Were there lines cut there?
Yes.
Library board?
Library board, story hour has good attendance. Librarian Deb Mall has submitted her resignation. She'll be moving to Ohio to be closer to family. She'll be there through the end of the year, though. So application process has started, but we'd like to thank her for her time of service to the library and the Harmony community.
Arts board?
Arts board is hosting the annual holiday lighting contest again. So there's information shared within our utility bills. Judging, judging's going to be on December 1st.
Nobody has lights on a giraffe, I don't think, in town, so you might have a leg up or a neck up, so to speak.
Yeah.
And there's 3 categories this year, so we're trying something different. And winners will be announced at the chamber tree lighting on December 2nd at 6 p.m. at South Lake Park.
Anything from the fire department?
Not that I'm aware of.
You just received a Compare grant?
Oh, yeah, we did.
Oh, yeah.
We got a
For,
$4,000
$4,000.
Compere grant for electric, or battery powered
Saw.
tools. So a case saw and a chainsaw that we purchased from Runright with that grant. And we do have the tools currently. We're waiting on specialty blades and saws or chains.
And I'd like to point out that the Give to the Max is this Thursday. That the Harmony Area Community Fund is accepting donations towards 4th of July activities and parks and arts and the parks. And it's going good. Lots of checks have already come in. And we have 3 businesses that are doing $1 for each. $3 will be matched up to $1,500, and that's by First Southeast Banks, the Harmony Telephone Company, and Harmony Enterprises are each doing $1,500 again. Anybody else have anything for our meeting? All right, we're adjourned. Thank you.
That is a hole.